You're watching the Health Now Nutrition Podcast, advancing our holistic and nutrition industry one story at a time. Presenting your host, Michelle Post.
Welcome everyone to Saved by Nutrition, and this is one of our fabulous contributors to the book, Lorraine Clifford. Lorraine Clifford, there you go, thanks. So good to see you. How are you now?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome. Lorraine Clifford, she works with Breatheway, which is a great way to actually do breathing exercises to increase the lung capacity and such. So just to give you a little bit more about Lorraine, she's passionate about helping others, their health, and gain quality in their lives. Her business focus starts with restorative breathing, nutrition, supplements, essential oils, and lifestyle changes. She loves to help volunteer at Ronald McDonald House, preparing meals, or at school teaching about health. Sometimes you'll find her face to the wind off on a motorcycle adventure with her wonderful husband. And she doesn't like to ride the back seat. She's got her own Indian motorcycle. So please welcome Lorraine to the show. So Lorraine, it is so good to see you on our edition here of Saved by Nutrition. And just tell me a little bit more about what it is that you are doing with your holistic nutrition business at this time at Breatheway.
Well, I like you said, I focus on the breathing to begin with, because when you're not breathing properly, you're not going to be able to digest properly. You're not eliminating properly. Your breathing affects every cell in your body, and when we're not doing it properly, we're not detoxifying properly either. You know, a lot of people think that the liver is the organ of detoxification. Now, it's the orchestrator. It tells what goes where and how it gets eliminated. It's either you're going to pee it out, either you're going to dump it out, or you're going to breathe it out. And we do a whole lot more breathing than anything else. So with me, starting with breathing is so important. Let's get that right, because I'd say most of us are not breathing correctly.
Absolutely. I even find myself, I catch myself quite often not breathing correctly and have to be very mindful of my own breath work. Now, especially with what's going on in this day and age right now, tell me a little bit about immunity and proper breathing.
When you're breathing properly, what happens is most of us are running in the sympathetic nervous system. It's a low-grade sympathetic nervous system. It's not like we're running from immediate danger. But the first thing that changes when we are stressed in any way, shape, or form is our breathing. And if we don't rectify it, our body gets a new set point. When our breathing is erratic or too big, too much, we end up off-gassing too much CO2. CO2 is the thing that makes the oxygen transfer happen. If it's not present in enough volume, then the oxygen doesn't transfer properly. You can have a 30% change in your breathing before you start to manifest any symptoms. So when we're not breathing properly, our immune system plummets.
That's amazing. I was just sharing my own story about that, that being an ex-smoker, of course, before I got into nutrition, that's one of the reasons why is my breathing wasn't working anymore. And I had to make a choice between smoking or singing. And I actually started off doing breath work because I could barely hold my breath for more than 2 to 4 seconds. And then I had to. So that was really, really important. What is a good step for somebody to get started on breathing? Just something, real quick that they can do.
Well, you want to always be nose breathing.
Nose breathing, yeah?
Yeah, in and out through the nose. You want to be engaging the diaphragm, and you want the body to be in a relaxed state. So those are 3 things that you can do.
Wow, that's
only. Use the diaphragm, because most of us aren't. The diaphragm stimulates the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body, and it stimulates all the inner organs to the parasympathetic nervous system. That's our calm, rest, and repair. So when
Fabulous.
it's not moving, we're not doing that.
You make me want to take a deep breath right now. That's just awesome. So if you want to get in touch with Lorraine more from Breatheway, you can actually visit her website at www.breatheway.com. Or I can give you can email Lorraine at lorraineyclifford@gmail.com as well. So you can get in contact with her. And you're also on Facebook, of course. Can people reach you on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, both with the Breathway. So it's breath, not breathe.
Thank you.
Breathe has an E at the end, breath does not.
Thank you very much. Yes, definitely correct me anytime. Now, you also contributed a story to the Great Saved by Nutrition book as well, and you've got a pretty amazing story of overcoming cancer, and it went on for a long period of time in your life that you've had these different episodes leading up to the diagnosis. So when did you start noticing cancer issues coming up for you?
I would say for sure a good 4 years before I was diagnosed. Yeah, I was in life was stressful. Life was stressful, and anytime you get into that stress situation where you're living in that sympathetic nervous system, our breathing changes, and when that happens, our immune system goes down, and our body's not able to function properly. And I was my husband and I just moved to Calgary. We had 4 kids. We didn't know anybody in Calgary. My husband was moving for work, and I come from a big family. I was used to having that support of family around me, and I didn't have that. I had to find myself a job and manage the kids, get them into school. I was also doing my husband's book work. So I was very busy. My mom had passed away when we moved here. My mom had passed away probably 2 years earlier. And my dad actually was very angry with me for moving and didn't want to talk to me.
Wow.
So I had a lot of these stressors on me, and still kind of moving forward and really not even understanding. I remember I started to get headaches and then migraines, and we had just moved to Calgary, and I went to see the doctor, and the doctor said, well, it's the Chinooks, and you just moved to Calgary, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we kind of brushed that one off, and then I wasn't sleeping very good, and then I started to have some numbness in my hands, well, my right hand, my dominant hand.
Right. Yeah.
And then I had noticed that I had a lump behind my elbow, but I had bumped it a lot, and I thought, well, that's nothing to worry about. But when the lump stayed there and started to get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, now my concern is up there.
Yes.
And talking to my doctors, they were 99% sure this was nothing to worry about. And it was me who pushed to get it removed.
Good for you. Yeah.
And then that's when I got the diagnosis.
So they removed it firstly for me pushing it, and then they went and sent it for a biopsy to find out what was going on. So when they diagnosed you, what happened moving forward on that aspect?
Everything was pushed through very, very fast because it was an aggressive soft tissue sarcoma. It had no borders.
Yeah.
So, coming from a nutrition background now, I understand more about what they were talking about. When I was back then, I was 36 years old. I had no idea. I thought I was living life really well. I wasn't too overweight. I probably had next to 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was just doing life. And so was everybody else. And everybody else my age was starting to have some problems.
Yeah.
So
40 seems to be that magic marker where most people are starting to get diagnoses or starting to go on their first set of medications and such. And you, of course, 36, so just shy, a bit shy of 40, and this is now happening for you in your life.
Yeah.
So young.
Yeah. So, you know, everything started to change and pile up. And for sure, looking back, I know that my breathing had changed. I know
Interesting.
I know it for sure. I mean, when we think about what cancer is, it's a free radical, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at what a free radical is, how the structure of it, to neutralize a free radical, we need one more oxygen. Now, I'm not saying that breathing is going to cure cancer. I'm not saying that at all. But would it help? You bet.
Yeah, because even in the meeting that I've had previously, viruses and other ailments don't live in a highly oxygenated environment.
Exactly.
Super interesting.
Exactly. The doctor who came up with the technique that I teach, Dr. Buteyko, he linked breathing as the root cause to over 200 degenerative diseases.
Wow.
When we're not breathing correctly, you might manifest what you're genetically disposed to.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that's something that people aren't paying attention to.
Wow.
We all understand we have to eat a certain amount of food, right?
Yeah.
And we have to have a certain amount of water. And if I'm no food, no water, I don't have too long to live.
Right? Yeah.
Right?
And breathing's number one. It's the first thing that goes, right? So absolutely.
It is, but most people don't think of it that way.
So
most people think I'm breathing and I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. At least as I'm breathing, and there's more to it for overall health aspect.
Yeah.
So when did you start implementing your nutrition and your breathing in order to get a healthier body?
So when I started, like I didn't know. I was more crunchy granola than most people back then.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. I mean, I trusted what was in the grocery store was okay.
It was good granola.
Exactly. And so when I first started the treatment was pushed through very, very quickly, and it really made my head spin. I was like I was going through the motions, but I really didn't have a good understanding on what was happening. I mean, even when they were talking to me about what kind of surgery they're going to do, and there was going to be donor and stuff like that, I had no idea where they're getting this donor from.
Wow. So they were going to
just explained,
right?
But I didn't question it either, because everything was coming at me so fast, right? It was so much to take in. And one of my sisters sent me a book from that was my mom's. Somebody had given it to my mom.
Okay.
And it was called Love, Medicine, and Miracles by Bernie Siegel.
Oh.
Best book I ever read.
Yeah.
Best book I ever read. And I would highly recommend it still. And it's old. You know, it's been 26 years since I was diagnosed. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I read the book and I started incorporating more holistic stuff. I started, introducing more greens. I was always really good at eating my greens, but I obviously wasn't getting enough. And I had no idea about the breathing. The breathing didn't come until much, much later.
Absolutely.
I've only been teaching it now for about 5.5 years, and I probably knew of it 3 years before that. Yeah.
Wow. So how do you feel that the nutrition that you started implementing with the more greens, and I think you also mentioned that there was some supplementation that you took, and even further, the granola had even changed a little bit from the refined granola, I guess. I'm guessing.
Yes.
There's more whole foods in this one than that. So
Yeah.
What happened for you when you started changing your dietary needs over?
Well, and I started that within the first year.
After diagnosis, or?
After diagnosis. So after diagnosis, I had chemotherapy and radiation, and then another surgery. And then at that point, during going through all that, I was researching to figure out. I'm the type of person that I need to know how this happened, because I thought I was doing life good. I thought I was healthy. I thought I was just getting older. You know?
Yeah.
We're going to get these aches and pains because we're getting older.
Yep.
But that was not the fact. That was not the fact. I wasn't honoring my body and resting when I should. Even my sleep was poor.
Yeah.
You know, I would, because I was so extended at all the things I had to do. I was working full time. I was doing my husband's books. I was running with the 4 kids. You know, I didn't leave any excess time. So I created more time by staying up later.
Yeah.
And then getting up early. You know, and that's when everything started to plummet.
Isn't it crazy the amount of stress that our society has put on us? Not just, you know, as of lately, but as you said, you've been cancer-free for 36 years now, and it's been even before then that our society has just been faster and faster and more stressful.
26 years.
26 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You look fabulous. Just to let you know, you look gorgeous.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it was, I mean, looking back, it was a total blessing for me to have to go through that, because I would have been on ignore, right?
Yes.
Our body is constantly giving us the information saying that there's something going on.
Yeah.
And really, until we get a diagnosis, a lot of us are ignoring it.
Diagnosis is for actually naming ailments. And what we do, doing the holistic nutrition, and of course with Breatheway and all that, is way more, because we do all the symptomology before it has to get to that place of diagnosis.
Exactly.
And so I think that that's a lot of things that people don't understand about what our industry actually does. So I think you nailed it there. Absolutely nailed it. So if somebody else came to you with these same issues, what would your advisement be for them?
You know what? First of all, like I said, I start with the breathing. First of all, let's look into that. And if you're not breathing correctly, let's dive a little deeper into that. Why are you not breathing correctly? Because quite often it's the crap that you're eating.
Yeah.
You know, the foods that are out there that are non-foods.
Yeah.
They fill the void so you don't feel hungry, but they're not helping your body.
Right.
And quite often you have underlying sensitivities and intolerances, which creates the inflammation. And when the inflammation is constant, then your body's immune system starts to go down.
Yeah.
You cannot tolerate it.
Absolutely.
So, you know, things like wheat and dairy, I mean, those are huge. We don't need either one of those.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's super interesting. Now, am I right that you already have a book out there, or I really still feel like I've seen you in a book of your own?
I've actually written a chapter for a book called Living Joy.
Okay.
And it's all about the breathing. And then my story is in another book called Getting Up.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is that also on your website, or where can people find those?
No, I haven't. I don't have them on my website.
Okay.
I have them in my office.
Yay! Okay, so they can find it if they actually get in contact with you. And get another book of yours as well.
Yeah.
Super fantastic.
And I know I want to write a book, because there's just so much. There's just so much that I've learned.
Absolutely. And of course, now's the time to do it. with the extra time that we have in our society to just calm down and get rid of those fears and stressors and really go to town on that. So so Lorraine is also featuring her amazing story from tragedy to triumph, and actually being cancer free for 26 years in the upcoming anthology Saved by Nutrition, where holistic nutritionists and nutritional consultants across Canada share their amazing stories. And Lorraine, honestly, you have a really amazing story to share, and I'm really glad that you're going to continue to share it with everyone to get the word out there how nutrition really does help us. And of course, many other modalities that holistic nutrition encompasses, which includes breathing very specifically. So
body, mind, spirit.
Right?
Gotta have it all.
Awesome. So if you want to get a hold of Lorraine, again, it's breathway.com. So www.breathway.com. Or you can actually email Lorraine at lorrainyclifford@gmail.com. And you can find more about what Lorraine does. And even if you want to get one of the upcoming anthologies, Saved by Nutrition, which you do want, you can also contact Lorraine that way too. So thank you very much, Lorraine, for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me to put out my story. I just hope it, plant seeds of inspiration.
Right. And anyone else who does have a story like this, we want to hear it. We want to know. So absolutely, just like Lorraine's, like seriously, you don't know how it's going to impress upon other people, and it will impress upon other people. So thank you again.
Thank you.
You've been watching the Health Now Nutrition Podcast with Michelle Post. For more information on how you can be part of the holistic and nutrition movement, visit www.healthnow.today to book your meeting.